Welcome to the Personal Tanya, day 22. Today we are covering chapter 11 in the book of Tanya, and it's the date of the 13th of the month of Teves. We're covering game-changing inspirations from this amazing, life-changing text, the book of Tanya, foundational text of Chabad, in about 5 minutes every single day. Join the revolution at jewishgardens.com/inspire. Today's topic is the failing Jew. In contrast to the tzaddik, which is the righteous Jew or the succeeding Jew, the Jew whose godly soul dominates and controls and tames his animal soul. The Rasha is the wicked or the failing Jew, today's topic. This is the Jew whose godly soul not only does not dominate or does not tame his animal soul, in fact, the animal controls the godly soul. It's a completely dysfunctional situation, not to be confused with the struggling Jew, which is the Beinani, the topic of tomorrow's chapter 12. And the big idea that we learn in today's Tanya text is that it's never too late. It's never too dark to be redeemed. It's never too dark to be illuminated. Even the lowest level of dysfunction, even the most failing Jew is still able to turn himself around to Shuvah, repentance, return, changes everything, even if he's in the darkest of all darkest souls. In today's Tanya, we're introduced to the spectrum of the different kinds of failing Jews, the different kinds of Rasha, of wicked Jews. Some, it depends on how dysfunctional is the relationship, where the godly soul is dominated by the animal soul. Within them, the selfish part of you dominates over the mission-oriented, the godly part of you. Sometimes it depends on quantity and quality, just like we learned yesterday with regard to the tzaddik, the succeeding Jew. It can mean that the godly soul is dominated only with one part of the three garments of the soul. You know, we have three garments of the soul: thought, speech, and action. So how does it manifest that the animal soul dominates over the godly soul? Is it in thoughts alone, with lewd thoughts that are inappropriate and not allowed in Torah? Or is it maybe just in speech, where he's speaking gossip, words that are not entirely appropriate? Or maybe it's only in action, where he's doing an action which is a light sin. I mean, it could be even that you have free time, and you could be using that time for Torah study. And instead of using that time for Torah study, you're killing that time by wasting it. You're watching a movie, maybe you're binge watching on Netflix or something. Then that would be an expression of the animal soul dominating over the godly soul in one part of your garments, thought, speech, or action. The duration of the animal soul dominating the thought, speech, or action of you cutting out the godly soul makes one a Rasha, makes him a failing Jew. Though afterwards, he will have regret, and that regret will turn him around. That regret is the act of teshuvah. Just to put it into slightly different perspective, you know, when you sin, first you say, it feels so good. And then afterwards you go, ooh, when you realize that you regret what you've done. That's the wicked, that's the sinner, that's the failing Jew. At the time he feels so good, it's but later it's ooh, he regrets it. On the converse, on the flip side, when you have the tzaddik, who's the perfect Jew, the successful Jew, he's the one that doesn't fail. In the beginning, he says, ooh, because he's curbing his temptation. Ooh, but afterwards, he says, look how amazing it was that I was able to succeed. It could be entirely possible that this struggling Jew is not failing in one. The failing Jew is failing not only in one garment, but in all three garments. In thought, speech, and action, the animal soul dominates over the godly soul. And this will lead to great regret, and he can't control himself. And this is really where most sinners are, on this level of an imperfect Jew, of a failing Jew, who wants to do the right thing, but he can't keep it together. So every once in a while he sins in one or two or all three of his garments of the soul, thought, speech, and action. And ultimately he comes back around like a yo-yo. He does repentance and he regrets it and he turns it around. But there is a second kind of a struggling Jew, of a failing Jew, forgive me, the Rasha. There's a second kind of a failing Jew, and this is the one that is so dominated by his animal soul that he never even actually has regrets. He never actually comes to a state of teshuvah. This is what's called the complete Rasha. But even so, even this Jew, says the Alter Rebbe, still counts in a minyan. You know why he counts in a minyan? You can count him out of 10 men for a holy action, for a kaddish, for a yahrzeit or something, because his godly soul is there. It's just in a state of exile. It's like hovering above him. He doesn't identify with his godly soul. He identifies with his animal soul. But such a failing Jew still counts in a minyan because he's still holy. He's just confused. And this concludes the discussion in today's Tanya about the failing Jew. Tomorrow, the Beinoni is the middle level between the successful Jew and the failing Jew, is the struggling Jew, the one who keeps it together, but boy, does he have a hard time. We'll talk about that tomorrow. In the meantime, that's a wrap. Let's try to apply. You can do this.